In today's video, I'm going to create a very basic triangle using a simple selection of flowers and one type of greenery. If this is something that you would like to learn, keep watching today's video. Welcome back to another tutorial. It's lovely to be back with another design. Now I'm going to do a fairly traditional design today with a bit of a twist. So I've got some white flowers to my right hand side. I've got Alstroemeria stock and some very large chrysanthemum blooms. Now I have put 3 to one side, but I might only use 2 or I might only use 1 because I'm thinking that the size of them is quite large for the length of the flowers that I've got. I don't have any particularly long flower stems today, so I'm a bit concerned that the size of the chrysanthemums is too big, but we can talk about that as we go along. And I'm going to be using this new container that I've picked up from a shop here in the UK called B&M. This was only £1.50. It is plastic, but it is a really versatile container to have, and you might have already seen it or it might be coming soon, but I've got a green one to match it. And on top of my turntable I've got a rattan placemat, and it's only there because for some reason I've got some paint marks on my turntable and it doesn't look very good in the overhead camera. So this isn't part of the design, it's just to make the presentation a bit better. So the floral foam today is below the level of the container. That means I don't have to have lots of foliage to cover the foam, and it means I'm going to have a much simpler design because I don't have to clutter the bottom up with loads of greenery. I do have one type of foliage, and that is a garden foliage. Can I remember the name of it? No, I can't, but it's a blossom, it's already flowered, and this is the greenery that's left. And I can overlay the name of it when I remember it during the editing process. So my container, foam below the edge of the container, means I can't come out at the side. So it's going to be not that perfect triangle where it's really balanced on either side, but a bit of an informal version of a triangle. It might not even be a triangle at all, but that's what I've got pictured in my head. And I'm going to start with white Alstroemeria. No, I'm not. I'm going to start with the white Lisianthus, and I'm going to start with a smaller size head, the one that's the most narrow, because in traditional floral design, which is what I'm going to do today, the smaller flowers are on the outside. And in the foam you can see I've got a piece, or you might not be able to see, so maybe I should get it out to show you. So the floral foam is half a block and it's in my container sideways, and then I've just got 2 smaller pieces on either side to wedge it in. And I'm thinking that this is going to be the back, the narrower part is the back and this is the front. I could have arranged that way and this was the back and this was the front, but I'm thinking that to get my flowers, to get the depth with the flowers that I've got, I'm going to work with a narrower part. And then with my Lisianthus, I'm going to give it a clean cut, and I'm going to work to the left of my foam. It's actually a lot taller than I thought it was going to be, so I might get away with using 2 or the 3 chrysanthemum blooms. And that's going in roughly 2/3 of the way back, so it leaves room at the back here should I decide to add any foliage in. I will need something to cover the floral foam, but it gives me room at the back there should I decide to put any greenery in. And there's plenty of room at the front here to hold my fresh flowers. And these 2 bits on the side are really only there to stabilise that centre point. I'm not likely to arrange any flowers in there. So we've got 2 stems of Alstroemeria, and these are going to, oh, I've called them Alstroemeria again, Lisianthus. And the reason that I'm calling them Alstroemeria is because I've just filmed a design with Alstroemeria, so it's stuck in my head. So I've almost got like a column effect, and I've always explained that the first design I normally teach anybody, whether they come here for lessons or whether I'm teaching online, is I normally teach a line arrangement, and that is basically the start of a line arrangement. And what I'm thinking of doing is creating a bit of an informal, less structured arrangement. And by bringing some flowers out to the left, I'm working on the left, and I'm using the same flower type, so I'm almost grouping the same flower type together. But whereas with a line arrangement you keep it quite vertical, I'm expanding out, splaying my flowers out, so that we've gone from the upright position at the beginning, which is parallel, to now coming in at a radial position, and then I'm going to continue that to make it a bit wider. So it's not a triangle as in a triangle where I come out at the bottom, but it is slightly triangular. So I'm sort of calling it a line triangle. Triangular line, is that possible? Is that something that exists? If not, I've just made it up. So we're going to just extend the length out a little bit. And the reason that I've kept the foam below the edge of the container is because I do appreciate that not everybody can get hold of lots of greenery. So I'm trying to do a design that doesn't use any foliage. And then what I'm going to do on the opposite side is bring a column down with stock. I've removed all of the greenery off the stock. I just said I've removed all the stock off the stock. That didn't make much sense. So I've removed all of the leaves off the stock. If you don't already know, the stock is part of the cabbage family, and that greenery does smell a little bit offensive after a couple of days. So they're very similar. This one is slightly longer, so that's going to be my taller placement. And what I've done now is, instead of coming in from the top of the foam, I'm going to come in from the side. So there's only a little lip of foam there. I'm slightly further forward to create that depth, but I'm not perfectly mirroring the shape on one side to the other, but I'm bringing, oh, that's a bit too far out. Now I've turned it to look at me. Let's get it back in there. There we are, that's better. So I'm radiating out a little bit. I'm not keeping it so perfectly vertical in the middle. We have got a little bit of that radial placement going on. And I don't have a huge amount of flowers. The flowers that I've got left are these 3 big chrysanthemum blooms. But because I've opened up the flowers at the top, it gives me plenty of room now to put my chrysanthemums in. As a traditional arranger, you might want to have greenery there at the back, but I wanted to see how far I could get without adding in any greenery at all. I think I've gone and cut that a bit too short. I think it's time I stop for a cup of tea and some lunch, because I'm not really concentrating in this video. I'm making some silly mistakes. So what I'm going to do in the middle, I don't want to be perfectly lined up in the middle, is bring that chrysanthemum head down through the front. So we've got the smaller of the heads at the top, and then I'm going to place 2 in lower down. And then I've got a couple more Lisianthus to balance off the weight at the bottom. But I just really wanted to see what I could create without a huge amount of greenery. I am going to add in that nice little blossom. And then here at the front, I have the option to do 2 things. I can come out towards the front, which gives me more depth, but then that gives me quite a large gap here, and I don't have anything to fill in that gap there. So instead of bringing it out so far, I'm going to angle it more upwards in that sort of position. It's going to help create depth and levels. It needs to be a little bit lower than it is here, because these 2 are very similar in height. So I'm going to cut it and push it into the foam a bit deeper. But there isn't really such a set shape here. I don't have the ability to come all the way down, because I don't have foliage or flowers to extend the length out here. My foam is also too low in the container. If I wanted to make a triangle, I would need to come out at the sides here. And I know the traditional arrangers amongst you will not like the fact that you can see the stem in the middle. But you know, let's go with something a bit different today and not worry about what we've always done in the past. Let's look at doing something a bit different. So just now towards the front, I'm going to add in some more of the Lisianthus. And because I have that little stem left, that does give me the ability to pop it in that area there where we can see that stem of the stalk. And that really is all of the flowers that I've got. So it's quite simple, quite basic. There are only 2 stems of Lisianthus, 3 stems of stalk and 3 chrysanthemum blooms. So if you don't have a huge budget and you just want to create something simple for the house, that's a lovely format to follow. You could replace this for carnations, you could use lilies instead, it could be 3 gerbras, or if you can only manage to use roses from the supermarket, then you might want to use 5 there to create the same look. And then with this lovely branch of some type of blossom, and this incidentally I bought in a garden centre for about £2. It was in the hospital bay, I like to call it, in the area where the plants need desperate care and attention. I only paid a couple of pounds for it and repotted it, looked after it over the last couple of years, and it flowers beautifully at the beginning of the spring, and it gives me a lot of pleasure in the garden. And I'd never really thought about cutting the greenery and using the greenery. So it's quite a vibrant green. It's not perfectly straight, it's got little twists and turns in it. And I just thought the simplicity of it would be enough to complement my pure white flowers. And I'm just going to spread it out, not really evenly on either side, just tucking it in between the stalks. It just works to extend the length out slightly. I'm just playing around to see where it suits the style of the arrangement. I was thinking of it coming over here, but I don't like the angle of the stem, so I'm going to pop it more up here towards the top. But what I don't want to do is hide the flowers. I want the flowers to be really clear and the foliage just to be interspersed in amongst my fresh flowers. And this one has a little bit of a downward curvature to it, so this would work better on that side of the arrangement. It's not perfectly symmetrical, but I don't really mind that. The shape is quite triangular, but the flower content is quite basic. And now I'm thinking, do I add a bit more greenery, or do I add a little bit of gypsophilia to fluff it out in the middle? Let's have a think. And I think I've decided I'm going to go with both. So the gyp is going to help give a stronger focus at the front of the arrangement. So where the chrysanthemums are sitting, by just adding a small amount of the gyp. I'm not a lover of a big cloud of gyp being in an arrangement because I think it spoils the design style. But by placing this in a little bit down lower, it's going to create depth and draw your eye there down to the centre. And then a smaller amount but a longer stem just helps elevate that centre section there. And then I'm going to use the rest of the greenery. I probably won't use it all, but I'm going to add it in different parts of the arrangement just to really add a bit of colour and texture. This one has a nice shape again to it. It's quite curved, so that's going to work really nicely at the front. And it doesn't need to be too long. It just needs to tuck in nicely underneath that chrysanthemum bloom. And what it's almost done is it's almost given me the illusion that it's a triangle, whereas essentially I don't have enough flowers to create that outline shape. But the softness of the greenery works really well in making a simple design, very simple and elegant. So with that final piece of greenery at the back, I think the design has really come together. It's a very basic style. The outline is essentially a triangle, but with a very limited choice of flowers. And all I need to do now is just tuck in some greenery here at the back so the floral foam is completely covered. We don't want to leave too much foam exposed because that will enable the foam to dry out too quickly. But you do need to have a little access point to be able to keep that foam wet and be able to pour in some water from a jug. So don't get too heavy here at the back, and there's nothing wrong if you've got some short pieces of gyp left over, they can fit in the back there as well. So I really hope you've enjoyed that. It's quite a natural and very organic design. Stay to the end if you want to see close-ups of the finished arrangement. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I'll see you very soon for the next video. Thanks for watching and goodbye for now.